As expected, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has now formally removed both Representatives Adam Schiff as well as Eric Swalwell from the House Intelligence Committee. He was very proud of himself because remember, he's the speaker, he's the leader technically. He put out this tweet saying, I have rejected the appointments of Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell for the House Intelligence Committee. I am committed to returning the House Intel Committee to one of genuine honesty and credibility that regains the trust of the American people. And look, I don't like the first part of that tweet, but I do want to give Kevin McCarthy a little bit of credit for injecting a bit of humor into the political discourse of the day. That's pretty good. The right is getting better at comedy. So yes, it's gonna have some honesty and credibility after they take out a couple of people who dared to question Donald Trump over the past few years. So that's cool. Anyway, he's got some explanations as to why he felt he needed to do this. Take a look at this.
What did Adam Schiff do as the chairman of the Intel Committee? What Adam Schiff did, use his power as a chairman and lie to the American public. Even the Inspector General said it. When Devin Nunes put out a memo, he said it was false. When we had a laptop, he used it before an election to be politics and say that it was false and said it was the Russians. When he knew different.
So, he's basically catching you up on the last season or two of 4chan. So whatever nonsense he just said. By the way, like Eric Swalwell, Adam Schiff, I don't really care about either of them. Like I'm not there. I'm not in their booster club or whatever. I probably agree with them on some stuff and probably far more often don't agree with them on the vast majority of political stuff. That said, this is BS and every reasonable, rational person needs to be willing to identify it as BS. This is strike back. It's the exact same sort of strike back. The exact same process is playing out that we have seen over and over and over again since 2016, both in substance, and I would classify this as substantive, taking them out off of their committees, as well as in rhetoric, which is the right does a thing that's crazy and unprecedented, and finally demands a response from a DC that so rarely wants to actually do anything, finally says, okay, in this case, Marjorie Greene is out of her mind, she's off her gourd, I guess we'll take her off of the committee. And eventually Gosar too, because they're continually talking about killing their colleagues, I guess we'll finally do something. So then they do it, and the right immediately says like, oh my God, a new precedent has been set. No, but you guys set the precedent, the insane precedent, okay? And you may not like Adam Schiff, and you may not like Eric Swalwell, and if Adam Schiff challenges Porter for the Senate seat of California, I'm not gonna like him either. But he is not calling for the murder of his colleagues. That's not what is going on. This is like, I have hated the substance-free like political equivalences that get thrown around by the media and by politicians, the both sidesing and all that, the whataboutism and all that. But this is one of the most ridiculous examples of it. The idea that you would strip them from their committees as payback for two people who should never be within 100 miles of governance is just insane.
Doesn't it further wear down credibility when you put someone who's under state, local, federal, and international investigation as a representative of your party on committees? Swalwell? I'm talking about George Santos, representative from New York.
We should have that discussion. So let's have that discussion. You want to bring up Santos, and let's talk about the institution itself, because I agree wholeheartedly that Congress is broken.
It's interesting that you use the word agree there, Kevin McCarthy, because she hadn't been saying that. She was actually talking about something else, and you seem to understand that because you said you want to have a conversation about George Santos, then you immediately pivoted to something that was very much not George Santos. But maybe I'm being unfair. After all, maybe eventually he's going to get to it and he's going to address the questions that just won't go away. Well, let's take a look at how the rest of the interview went.
I think your listeners or viewers should understand what proxy voting was, because it never took place in Congress
before. But I'm asking you about George Santos.
I know you asked me a question. Let me ask you.
Because you could put it to a vote.
You asked me a question. I'd appreciate if you let me answer. So let's go through this, because it's not one simple answer.
If you got a third of your caucus to vote to oust him, you could do so. You don't think you could get your Republicans to do that?
I wasn't finished answering the question.
So you're just not going to answer the question I asked?
Well, no, you don't get to question whether I answer it. You asked a question. I'm trying to get you through that.
I don't think you've said the name George Santos like once.
But you know what?
You're talking about proxy voting and other things.
But you started the question with Congress was broken, and I agreed with you.
But they're wrapping me in the control room because we're
that's unfortunate. I wish I could answer the question.
Yeah, he sure thinks it's unfortunate that, he just didn't get around to answering the question. Or as he said when she rightly interrupted him, when he said, you haven't let me finish answering the question. Boy, you didn't start answering the question. And his little defense where he's like, yeah, well, but when you first said it, you said the word Congress. Okay, technically, but I think we all know what question she was answering. You can't be like, well, I'm just going to talk about the decorations of the room because you asked the question in the room. So technically you freed me up to talk about whatever I want. No, it is very clear. One, that he does not want to have to talk about George Santos, obviously, and I sort of understand that. And two, that he's not as clever as he thinks he is and not as good at sort of weaseling around the questions. That was embarrassing. It is obvious what he thinks, how unsure he is that the Republicans either should or would actually boot George Santos from the party or from Congress to whatever extent they have that ability. And so, I know, Elise, I just think it's hilarious that this is from my point of view, a layup. The guy's an insane liar. You can show yourselves to be even sort of fake honest by at least distancing yourself from him, but they won't even do that.
No, it just is the epitome of what he is right now. And he's the leader supposedly, but I think it's clear with this and everything else that he's just not somebody who has much power or control. He doesn't really dictate what happens. He's really just a guy that is taking orders from other people, and he will mosey around answers because he really doesn't have much power. He sacrificed everything he believes in to have the title he has now, and now we're just seeing the effects of that.